Hello everybody, my name is Brian Adcock. I am the race director and founder of Castle Triathlon Series. This briefing is for those of you that are taking part in the Gauntlet race on Sunday the 27th of September 2020. So just a reminder that we are operating this race under the 5 principles of, first of all, athlete communication and education, of which this is part. Secondly, density reduction, so we've reduced the size of the field, we've spread you out more throughout the course of the day. Thirdly, touch point reduction, we have reduced the number of touch points that you will actually come into contact with throughout the course of your day, which will hopefully make your stay safer. Fourthly, athlete self-reliance. Where possible, we'd like you to look after yourselves, feed yourselves, make sure your bikes are fully functional and not rely on any aspect of our event functionality to support you on your race. You should be able to do this completely self-sufficiently. And fifthly, increased hygiene on the event, and so you'll see a series of hand sanitizers around the course, and hand washing at all times will be encouraged. Please feel free to wear your own PPE and bring your own hand sanitizer. Great stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to just talk to you about the swim. So I'm going to share my screen again with you. Please bear with me. And here is a map of your swim. So as discussed in the earlier briefing, you will be let into the water one by one, approximately 10 seconds apart. Absolutely no problem with overtaking, but please try and maintain your social distance of at least 2 meters. So as you swim down the lake, the first buoy that you'll pass is actually at 100 meters. You can swim either side of that, same at 200, same at 300, same at 400. But when you get to 500, you must pass through the gate formed by the 2 buoys that will be out there, one yellow and one either red or orange. You then swim half right at that point and head to the corner of the lake, where at 600 meters you'll round a buoy keeping it on your left shoulder. You'll swim across the end of the lake, round another buoy at 700 meters, keep that on your left shoulder. And then you've got a 200 meter pretty much straight swim, and we'll gradually lose sight of you as you go behind the Japanese tea house, which juts out into the lake at that point there. And you're making a beeline for a double gate, so 2 swim buoys side by side, which will put you into the deep channel that's being dredged to take you into the river section. Please don't try and cut this corner across here, because it's very shallow and you'll need to be rescued. And I will also have lots of beady-eyed canoeists out there who will give you a little gentle tap in the right direction should you start to go the wrong way. So through the gate, please, and then into the river section. You'll pass that first bridge at that location there, and then a series of buoys that will indicate 1100, 1300, 1500. And then finally, when you get round to the second bridge, you'll be at 1700 meters, 200 meters to go, whereupon you'll re-enter the main lake section. You'll come across the front of the loggia and then exit at the boat ramp at this location here. When you exit the water, you will not be helped out of the water by Simon, who's become a feature and a fixture of the events over the last few years, but you will have a handrail that you can pull yourself up on to get you out onto dry land. You then turn left at that point there, run along a little gravelly track, and then you'll be directed uphill back towards transition. As far as swim safety is concerned, you will have the normal swim safety complement out there to support you throughout the course of your swim. If you've got any problems at all, please just roll over onto your back and put your hand up in the air, and one of them will be over to you in a flash. The only difference in terms of what they're wearing will be that the guys on board the rigid inflatables, where you might be rescued into, should you put your hand up at any point, will be wearing PPE themselves. As far as this map is concerned, then the blue splodges that you can see are good points to watch the swim from if you were to have brought a spectator with you. So that's your swim. Okay, bear with me while I just change maps over. So from the swim, you make your way uphill to transition. And here is transition. So you enter from this top left-hand corner as we look at the map. The deer fence that many of you will be familiar with will be over here. Registration and toilets were down this end of transition, and that's where you came in when you first racked your bikes. So you'll be asked to run along this side of transition just to make sure that we have a one-way system in place. And then depending on where your rack was, you'll run down this side of the field before cutting into your racked area. These will be indicated by either letters or numbers. We haven't decided yet just how that's going to work, but make sure you know the letter of your racking lane, as it were. You come back to your bike, sort yourself out into your cycle kit, and then when you pick your bike up, you run with it in the same direction, turning left at the end, and then left on yourself again until you come out, bike out in this corner. And then you will actually run further with your bike down in this direction until you get to the scaffold bridge, and that is where the mount point will be, and then you can continue on your cycle. So that's your transition area as you come through it for T1. Then you guys will go out onto the cycle. So here's a map of the cycle route. This is the Hever estate up here in the top left-hand corner. The yellow mark you can see, just tiny little yellow dot there, is transition. And then the first 600 meters of cycling is actually along the estate road. It's called the back drive. Number of things to catch you out if you're not fully aware of what's going on around you. So first of all, it's narrow. Second of all, there are a line of cones down the middle of the road, so please don't crash into them. It's not neutralized, so you can overtake. Third of all, you may, as you're coming back onto the estate, having completed your cycle on this same estate road, come into people, or come, there will be other people going in the opposite direction down the road, so please be mindful of those. And then the final thing to be careful of is just here, about 3/4 of the way along the road, you'll come past a couple of cottages, and there are 4 sleeping policemen, or speed bumps, which are very large and could take a man off a horse if he wasn't paying attention. So please make sure that you don't come off your bike at that point there, because it'd be a bad start to your cycle. You'll then come out to the main entrance of Hever Castle at Marshall Point 1. Just a reminder that the roads are not closed for this event. There are a couple of sections that are temporarily closed, but best to have in your mind that the course is not closed, and so you must obey the highway code at all times and stay into the left-hand side of the road unless you're overtaking. It is a non-drafting race, so unless you are overtaking, then you must remain 12 meters distant from the bicycle in front of you. And whilst overtaking, please make sure that you give at least 2 meters to the person that you're overtaking. So you need to have your wits about you as you're out there on the road, because this does get busy, particularly on a sunny day at the end of September, with lots of tourists visiting the area, particularly the Ashdown Forest, which is down to the south of the cycle route. So in a bit more detail, you come out of the castle, you turn immediately left, handrail the pub called the Henry VIII, and then drop down to Marshall Point 2, which is a very sharp left-hand bend. This is traffic managed. We have got a series of points around the course that are traffic managed. That means that we have a traffic management company who are Chapter 8 qualified. They'll be dressed in high vis from head to foot, and they carry stop-go boards which they can stop traffic with, so they will ease your passage around the course. But please listen to them. Sometimes after holding traffic for an amount of time, they will have to stop you, but that should only happen to a very, very small minority of you. But listen to what they've got to say. You then make your way up the notorious cheeky little hill into the village of Mark Beach, and when you get to the top here, on your first lap, it will just be you Gauntlet competitors that are turning right at this point, but there's a good chance for some of you on your second lap that you will have been joined by Olympic distance competitors who, when they get to Marshall Point 3, actually turn left. So remember it after your first lap, and also take note of the signage that is there. And there's a large sign that says Gauntlet to the right, all other routes to the left. So make sure you guys turn right. You then make your way out to the Eden Bridge to Hartfield Road, which is this one that runs all the way down here. And you'll be traffic managed at this point opposite a pub called the Queen's Arms, and you'll head off down the B Road in a southerly direction, going downhill initially. That's Cowden Cross. Number of accidents with motor cars there over the years. Make sure you don't become a statistic at that point. We will have a marshal there, but keep your wits about you. And then downhill over the River Medway, and then back up till you get to the A264 at this point here. This is traffic managed. It's an offset junction, so you turn initially left, and then after about 50 yards you turn right and continue in your southerly direction. A little bit undulating along here till you get to the village of Hartfield. When you get into Hartfield, you come to a T-junction where you're turning right. You'll be traffic managed at that point there. And then you go through a couple of traffic calming measures, namely where there are sort of pinch points in the road. One which you have right of way on, the other which you don't. and then we turn you left at this point here up what's called Jibjacks Hill, which is quite a steep hill, up until you get to the top of the contour at that point there. Then you drop down again to a small stream, and then you've got a steady climb for approximately 4 kilometres till you get to the southerly point, just past Bushy Willows car park, which is actually the high point of the Ashdown Forest. And you can see 4 counties if you've got any energy to look around you at this point. From there you head, or you'll be turned left, and after 300 yards on your left-hand side, you'll come to the first feed station. There is only 1 feed station, but you do pass it twice because you're going to do 2 laps of this 45-kilometre course. Feed station will be laid out in the standard way, namely that the first table you come to will have bottles of high five on it. The second one will have bottles of water. The third will have half bananas that have been cut and prepared for you. The fourth will have bars on it, and the fifth will have gels on it. In advance of the feed station, you'll have a bottle drop. So it's a bottle exchange. So your empty bottle you can take out from your bike, chuck it in the waiting builder's sack for you, and then pick up one of our bottles and carry on around the course. We'll also have a rubbish bin. So if you've got any rubbish, then you can drop it off in a builder's sack on the other side of transition. Please keep your wits about you. Sorry, not transition, the feed station. Please keep your wits about you as you pass the feed station. There will be lots of people doing different things and not always the things that you might expect them to do. We will not have people handing out the equipment to you because we're reducing touch points, and so they will prepare the tables, but you must actually come to a stop to pick up whatever it is that you want to take from each of the tables. So don't try and go through there at high speed and grab it as you go, because you'll never get hold of a bottle and you'll just cause carnage in the middle of the road with bottles rolling around everywhere and God knows what. So come to a stop and uncleat yourself if you've got cleats and grab what you need, and then continue on your way. Not ideal, I know, but that is the safest way that we can see for doing this. And from there, you're going to make your way downhill off the Ashdown Forest. This is not all downhill, it's a little bit undulating. And then you'll climb up a smaller hill into the village of Groombridge, which is just here. This is a traffic managed junction. As you come underneath the railway bridge, you've got a right turn onto another B road. And then you'll come up the second steepest hill of the course, which is called Groombridge Hill. And when you get to this Marshall point just here, you'll be turned left onto the A264 by a farm shop. About 200 metres down the A264, you'll be turned right across traffic, again traffic managed, and you'll make your way down through and past the village of Fordcombe. Please take care as you come down here. On Sunday morning, they have a church service in the church. We've asked the vicar not to park cars on the road, so he has kindly asked his parishioners to park up on the green, but there will be people walking down the side of the road as they go to church if you happen to be passing at that time in the morning. Then you've got a couple of right-hand bends that are high speed, and we've had a couple of nasty accidents there over the year. So please take care as you go down there. And then at Marshall Point 31, you'll cross over the River Medway again and make your way steeply uphill and back in towards the village of Penshurst. But just before the village of Penshurst, probably on your second laps, you will be joined on your routes by the Olympic distance competitors who will come in from your left-hand side. You have right of way, but just be careful as you come in towards that junction. Then you'll come into the village of Penshurst. You turn left just after the doctor's surgery in the village hall and make your way steadily uphill until you'll turn left at this point here, where you'll head downhill over the railway and into the village of Chiddingstone Causeway, where you'll pop out directly opposite a pub called the Little Brown Jug. And then you handrail the railway line for approximately 4 or 5 kilometres. One point of further note, just before you come into my own village, the village of Bow Beach, at 11 Alpha here, you will pass underneath a railway bridge. It's a narrow bridge. People are often in the middle of the road in their cars because they think the bridge is narrower than it actually is. And you'll be coming fast downhill and then turning sharp left. So it's a recipe for disaster. Luckily, we haven't had any problems over the years, mainly because people have listened to the brief, and when they see the red flags that the marshals are waving at them, and likewise with the motorists that are coming from the other side of the bridge, then everybody seems to slow down. So please make sure you don't become a statistic there. So up through the village of Bow Beach, straight on at the Wheatsheaf pub, and then the last 4 kilometres you come past the Hever Castle Golf Club and eventually come back to the main entrance, and that's your first lap complete. You'll be doing 2 laps of this course, and you're going to follow yellow cycle route signs, most of which are small ones, around about 12 inches long and 8 inches wide. Once you get back to the front entrance of Hever here, you don't need to come back down the estate road. You just continue past the main entrance and you immediately handrail the Henry VIII pub and drop down to Marshall Point 2 and then do the course exactly the same as you had done previously. When you finish your second lap, this time as you come up the hill towards the gate, you turn left, follow the estate road back down to Transition, and then get ready to dismount and go through T2. So just going back onto the Transition map. When you come back into Transition, this is where you'll come in on your bike. You dismount just past the scaffold bridge. That's a pedestrian bridge over the cycle track. And then you'll run with your bike down to this corner and all the way down into this corner. Again, it's a bit of a faff, but it means that we have a one-way system that goes through Transition. You pick up your letter or number at the end of the rack. Make sure that you know what your letter or number is, run with your bike down to your racking point, and then re-rack your bike and get yourself ready for your run. When you're in your running kit, you run to the end of that row, you turn left at the end, and then you come around in this circuit here and come to bike out and run out, which are in this corner, before heading off down in this direction to go out on your 21k run. So the run course. This is Transition here. You come out in this corner and you're heading down the edge of Park Wood. You've got 2 circuits of this 10.5k course. Let me just put it on full screen. And the first circuit very quickly takes you up what's called Shite Lane, which takes you up around the edge of Park Wood. And then you'll come past the first feed station. Feed station laid out in exactly the same way as the cycle feed station was. Except this time you've got jelly babies added and your high five and water are in cups rather than bottles. The staff on the feed stations will just prep the stuff and stand back. You have to self-serve. From there, you'll make your way out onto a tarmac road. This is called Thresher's Field, this row of cottages here. And you make your way down this metal road until you get to what's called Lockskinner's Farm. You'll turn left on a bridleway for a brief period of time. Beautiful running at this point. And then when you get to the edge of a little hamlet, which is called Hillhoath, you're going to be turned right and you'll head up on a public footpath and then into some private land that we prepared just for the triathlon. So this will have been power hoed by the time that you get to it and should be in pristine condition. Just a word of warning, if it does rain, this does cut up quite quickly and does become quite slidey, which is why that is called Sliders Wood. This is the highest point of the course, just up here, and there'll be a water station there ready for you, which will have water, high five. Sorry, I should mention that we do have flat Coca-Cola out on the run course as well. There will be energy gels at this point as well. Then from there, you make your way across a couple of farmers' fields into the actual hamlet of Hillhoath itself, and then you turn right along a public footpath. And again, public footpath up past the Chiddingstone Recreation Ground, home of the Chiddingstone Badgers Rugby Club, of which I am a member. And then when you get onto the metal road in the village of Chiddingstone, you're going to turn left at that point there, make your way down the high street, and then you go in through a set of metal gates and into the grounds of Chiddingstone Castle, which is here. Second feed station, laid out in exactly the same way as the first feed station at this point here. You make your way slightly downhill over a bridge and then across the front curtilage of the castle before going back out through their main entry gate and turning left on a metal road for approximately 400 metres. After 400 metres or so, you're going to turn right and you'll be on a bridle track that takes you through more wood and then across a horse cross-country course. No horses out there on the day that you'll be racing. And then at this point, you cross the Thresher's Field metalled road, come back past the first feed station, and you're onto the Hever estate again. So you've got 4 kilometres to go at this point. Sorry, no, you've got 3 kilometres to go at this point. It's basically a kilometre down to the end of the lake here through the wood. You go around the end of the lake, across a couple of bridges, past the weir gates, and then you come to a second water station on what's called the Anne Boleyn Walk on this long straight here. Over the bridge that you swam under a few hours earlier, over the second bridge, and around what's called the water maze, and then you'll make your way around the formal gardens of the castle, but sort of on the outside of the formal gardens themselves, and round past the moat restaurant here, climb up a steep gravelly hill, and then you'll effectively be in the finishing straight, but it's not your finishing straight because it's just your end of your first lap. When you get down past the ticket cuts at this point here, you will see a right-hand turn that will be signposted to the finish. Don't take that after your first lap, but continue straight on. And then you circumnavigate, transition, and at this point here, you take up the first lap again. So effectively, this is the run out point, and you're going to just rejoin that at that point there. And then you do exactly the same course as you did before, so that you complete 2 laps. And after your second lap this time, when you do get to the finish straight, you take the finish arrow, and that'll take you around to the finish line itself. And that is you complete. As I say, 2 laps of the run, 2 laps of the cycle. On the cycle, you follow the yellow cycle route signs, and on the run route, you're going to follow the green/yellow run route signs. And that is your brief. Again, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email either myself or one of my beautiful assistants on support@castletriathlonseries.co.uk. Thank you for listening.